How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. Today we're reviewing the Turbo RV AC with an inverter compressor. There's only two manufacturers out there right now making a unit like this, taking the components of the MiniSplit and putting them into an RV AC. So let's see how it performs. Does it give us the efficiency, the easy startup, all the benefits that we're hoping for? Does it deliver on that? So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So there's really one place to start to get to the bottom of it all. The 5 main things that you need to know about an AC. So first we have to get it installed. So let's start with that. The first thing is, while this might have the internal components similar to a MiniSplit, it installs much like any other RV AC unit out there. Fitting on the typical 14-inch opening on top of the RV, which is the same as a vent fan, and it lends itself well to upgrades because it doesn't require any 12 volt, it's just going to be 120 volt AC. Now this is a ductless model. I have modified ACs like this to work into our duct system, but I'm going to install this just the way it is from factory. No modifications. So the interior panel bolts through to the rooftop unit and compresses down that seal to the roof of the RV. The power connection has a small little access panel, pretty simple to connect together. Now there's quite a few wires hanging down, and all those are basically tying the top unit to the interior portion. They just get connected and tucked into place. Then it's just the last piece to snap on, which covers the air filters for the return air. One bit of advice, if you're planning on upgrading your AC unit or you needed to swap yours out because yours is broken, I suggest doing that in the beginning of the season before it gets really hot in summer. It's not as fun installing this in the extreme heat, especially when you're needing that AC. So being prepared for the season is definitely my recommendation, which brings us to today's sponsor, which is the Camco's Fasten system. With the gear up for the season, they've debuted a lot this year, like the Sewer Adapter Pro or the accessory kit that goes on the Rhino tote tank, but something that might have been overlooked was the Fasten AccuPark. It's the newest piece in their stackable block system. So this is a small ramp that can lock into the stackable blocks and give you a curved space for your tire to be able to fit in and a stop so you can feel when you're in there. And just like the stackable blocks that has the handle so you can carry it around easily, these also have that same concept and that same handle. This is one of the only stackable block solutions that you can actually put in a wheel chock that's integrated into the system. But this AccuPark, you can use it on its own. You could use it with the blocks. With this modular system, you can really set it up however you like. For stabilizers, for leveling, they're very versatile. They're fast, there's 10 of them, they fasten together, so you could use them for however it would suit your needs. So link is gonna be down in the description to the Fasten system and the new AccuPark leveling ramps to gear up and get ready for this next season. Thank you Camco for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to testing the AC. So now the next thing we're going to test is the starting feature on this AC, and I expect great things because usually RV ACs take a huge hit in the beginning to get them started. That's why we put soft starts, micro air easy starts on the RV AC so they can start better on generators, inverters, and in parks where the power system is struggling so that it's not that big of a hit in order to get the AC up and going. So let's see what it takes to start these. For a benchmark, we're going to start a typical AC. This is the Houghton 13,500 BTU AC, so the exact same size with no modifications. First time starting it up was right around 50 amps. Testing it a few more times, we were hitting around 53 amps. Next for comparison is the 15,000 BTU Coleman Mach AC we have with the micro air easy start on it. You can see it starting off with the fan, and then we have 20 amps to get that started. A lot less amps with that micro air easy start. And the last one for reference is the EcoCool Gree or the Tosot 15,000 BTU, also with the micro air easy start, coming in at 23.6 amps to start. Now let's see what the difference is going to be on this inverter compressor AC. Again, this is stock. You can see the fan kicking on at just a couple of amps. And then slowly it just ramps up. There's never a spike watching this meter all the way through. This is what I was expecting, but it still was surprising. Definitely seeing what stock ACs are doing, what the micro air easy start's doing on some ACs, but this just completely blows those out of the water. There is no spike, it's just the compressor running because it can ramp up slowly. It completely removes the problem of starting an AC. So now the next thing is efficiency. We're hoping to see a more efficient AC with that inverter compressor. That variable speed should help us in this area as well. Turbo says it has an EER of 11.3, which would be great, but I wanted to see in the real world use what that looked like. My comparison is between the Turbo AC and the Houghton, both low profile, both the same size, both in the same space, in the same condition. So let's get to the bottom line. When turning on the AC on max, the efficiency was almost always identical to the Houghton AC and didn't see any benefit in efficiency from one to the other, like the results here. The Houghton used 1.06 kilowatts to get us down to temp, and the Turbo was at 1.52, an almost tie when we were starting in the 90s. They were both putting out about the same temp air, with the Turbo being slightly colder, but the real main difference I found was in the long haul. Maintaining the temperature is where I saw the power consumption difference. Once I could see the Houghton turning on and off, maintaining that temperature, and the Turbo bringing that speed down to hold that temperature is where the separation began. So with maintaining and holding the temperature for an hour, I saw about a 400 watt-hour spread, with the Turbo being more efficient. The longer it would run, the more efficiency we would see for gain. These tests definitely weren't perfect, but it gives me an idea of what to expect with this unit. I definitely can't wait to test this against the Furrion Chill Cube because it has an inverter compressor as well. I know there's a size difference. This is the 13.5K, that's the 18,000 BTU unit, but it'll still be fun to test the efficiency between the two. This may not be as efficient as a MiniSplit, but it's at least a step in the right direction. It's more efficient than the typical AC. Now, the big question of what does this sound like? Is it as quiet as a MiniSplit, or is it still loud like a normal RV AC? So let's get some benchmarks and see where it lays out. So for a bass, we're around 24 to 26 dB. So first, firing up the Coleman Mach with the RV airflow inducting. On low, it's at 52 dB. They're not known for being the quietest, but the RV airflow ducting does help. And on high, it's bouncing up to 53. Now, moving over to the EcoCool Gree or Tosot, this is starting up at around 52 dB, but we put the fan on the number 1 setting. It's around 42 to 43. On fan 2, it's at 49. And at fan 3, we don't hear much of a change. It stays at 49. Moving it up to level 4, we hear it at 51. We have to get a new bass for the Turbo and the Houghton, but it's at 22 to 23 for the bass. And the Turbo with the fan on 1 comes in at 58 dB. The fan on 2 is at 59 dB. On 3 is at 60. Inside this trailer, it's definitely more reflective sound bouncing around, so I wanted to test the Houghton also to have a side-by-side comparison. So on level 1 for the Houghton, it's at 47. At fan speed 2, it's at 51 and 52. And at fan speed 3, we're at 55. So the Turbo came in at the loudest. I didn't expect it to keep up with the EcoCool, but I expected it to be closer to the Houghton sound. EcoCool was the quietest by far. Now, next on our list is the operation of this unit, because people have preferences of how they want the AC to work and operate in the RV, and this is how this one's going to function. So first and foremost, you have a remote. This isn't going to work with a wall thermostat, but you have this and you have a display up in here, but you don't have any buttons on the unit itself to operate it. It's going to be this or the app. We'll get to the app in a minute, but the modes that we have on here, so we have obviously cooling, the AC, we have dehumidify, we have fan, and we also have the heat pump. There's also an auto feature in here, but under cooling is what it's going to do. It's going to have that fan run continuously. I know that's a preference for some that like to have that constant noise, and then for others, they like to get a little reprieve and have that fan kick off occasionally. So with this one, that fan is going to run constantly when you're on the cooling, the AC mode. And then using this unit on heat pump, I do have to say it's pretty impressive. It down to like 20 degrees is what I had it at. It was still putting out warmer air and still functioning. Not that this is my go-to when it gets that cold, but it's nice to know that it can get pretty chilly outside, pretty cold, and I can still use this when I'm at RV parks. As far as electric heat on the inside of the RV, usually the heat pump is the only thing that I'm going to use when we're away from the RV. I use the furnace and I'll use the heat pump, but I'm not going to use a space heater or the fireplace inside the RV or anything like that. That's why I like having a heat pump on the RV. It gives me that option of electric heat while we're away. So that way it's not freezing cold when we get back in the wintertime. And it's important to know that this is the first inverter compressor AC for an RV with the heat pump option. This unit also has 3 different colored lights. So if you wanted a softer light inside the RV, you have 3 different options. And I mentioned it has an app. The app is very responsive and very useful. So if you wanted to turn on the AC or turn on the heat pump when you're away so that it's warmer or colder when you get there, you have that app in order to do that. So it's either controlled by remote or by the app. There is no wall thermostat. But I found the app to be more responsive than the EcoCool, and I found the remote to be more responsive than the Houghton. The one area I see room for improvement is the sound. But overall, it's a pretty solid unit. A little bit more efficient, great at startup. There's definitely room for improvement on the sound of the unit itself, but nice that there's a fairly low profile unit out there for RVing with that inverter compressor for those benefits. So links are going to be down in the description for it. I believe All About RVs code will give you a discount on it, which brings it to around $1,500. The Furrion Chill Cube is at around, I think, $1,300. But this Turbo is the first one with the heat pump. So if you're looking for an AC or looking to upgrade yours, and this is an option that's going to fit what you're looking for and what your needs are, then definitely check out that link below. But either way, it's great to know what the different options are out there and how they compare to each other. So anyways, I think that's going to do it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope that it helped you out in some way to make decisions of what's going to suit you and your needs. So as always, if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you next video. Take care.